All right, my little prince and princesses. I hope you are doing well. This is story time. Another story from Grimm's Fairy Tales. This one is the Three Spinning Fairies. If you hear my dog in the background, I apologize. She likes to be vocal randomly. All right. There was once upon a time a girl who was lazy and hated work, and nothing her mother could say would induce her to spin. At last the mother grew angry and, losing all patience with her, gave her a beating. At this the girl began to cry so loudly that the queen, who was driving past at the time, heard her cries and stopped. She went into the house and asked the mother why she was beating her daughter like that. Her screams, she said, can be heard outside in the street. Must be the queen. The mother was ashamed to confess the truth about her daughter's laziness. And so she answered, I cannot get her to leave off spinning. She is forever at her wheel, and I am too poor to keep on buying her fresh flax. Is that all? Said the queen. There is nothing I like so much as the sound of spinning. I am never happier than when I can hear the humming of the wheels. Let me have your daughter, and I will take her home with me to the castle. I have plenty of flax, and she can go on spinning there to her heart's content. The mother was heartily pleased at this proposal, and so the queen left, taking the girl with her. On their arrival at the castle, she took her upstairs and showed her 3 rooms filled from the floor to the ceiling with the most beautiful flax. Spin me all this, said the queen, and when it is finished, you shall have my eldest son for your husband. Your poverty is a matter of no consequence to me, for I consider that your unremitting industry is all sufficient dowry. What that means is that because she's industrious, that pays for her the marriage. At one time, you exchanged money and goods for marriage, so you would want to marry into a wealthier family. But we live in a different time now, and you can marry for love. The girl dared not say anything, but she inwardly trembled with fear, for she knew that she could never spin all that flax, even if she were to sit at the spinning wheel from morning till night for 300 years. As soon as she was alone, she began to weep, and she sat like that for 3 days without doing a stroke of work. Well, with that laziness, yeah, she would have never finished. When the queen came again on the 3rd day, she was surprised to find that the flax had not been touched. The girl excused herself by saying that she had felt so lonely and homesick that she had not been able to begin her spinning. The queen was satisfied with the excuse, but as she was leaving, she said, Tomorrow, mind, I shall expect you to begin your work. Alone once more, the girl was at her wit's end to know what to do, and in her distress of mind went and looked out the window. There she saw 3 funny-looking women coming towards her. One had a big flat foot, another had a large underlip that hung over her chin, and the third had a very broad thumb. They stood still under the window, and looking up, they asked the girl what was the matter. She told them her trouble, and they offered to help her. If you will invite us to the wedding, they said, and will not be ashamed of us, but will introduce us as your cousins and let us sit at your table, we will soon spin all that flax for you. That I will gladly promise, said the girl, if you will but come in and begin work for me at once. So she let in the 3 women, and what queer little figures they looked. She cleared a space for them in the first room, and they all sat down and began spinning. The first drew out the thread and turned the wheel. The second moistened the thread. The third twisted it, striking with her fingers on the table. And every time she did this, a beautiful skein of the finest spun yarn fell on the ground. Whenever the queen came, the girl hid the three women and then showed her skein upon skein of spun yarn, till the queen had not known how to find words enough to praise her. As soon as the first room was empty, the spinners went on to the second, and finally they went on to the third, which, like the others, was very quickly cleared of the flax. Then the three women took leave of the girl, saying to her as they parted, "Do not forget the promise you made us, for it will bring you good fortune." When the queen was shown the empty room and the great piles of yarn, she began at once to make preparations for the wedding. The bridegroom was delighted to think he should have such a clever and industrious wife, and showered his praises upon her. "I have 3 cousins," said the girl, "and they have shown me such great kindness in the past that I should not like to forget them, now that I'm happy and prosperous. Will you give me permission to invite them to the wedding, and allow them to sit at our table?" The queen and the bridegroom both willingly consented to this request. The wedding feast was beginning when in walked the three women, attired in the most wonderful dresses. The bride greeted them and said, "Welcome, dear cousins." But the bridegroom could not help exclaiming, How come you to have such ugly friends?" Then he went up to the first and asked her what had given her such a broad foot. "Turning the wheel," she answered. Then he went to the second and asked that what had caused her to have such large lips. "Moistening the thread," she answered. Then he went to the third and asked what made her thumb so broad. "Twisting the thread," she answered. "Then," cried the prince, horrified at these answers, "my beautiful wife shall never go near a spinning wheel again, as long as she lives." And so henceforth she was rid of the hated task of spinning. Flax, for you who don't know, is a type of plant, and it is actually used for making linen. We don't have much clothing nowadays made out of flax. It's mainly cotton and wool, and then, of course, synthetic fibers. But at one time, they used flax. So I just figured I'd let you little prince and princesses know that. And a skein is it's how you put your spun yarn together. It's kind of like if you go to the store, to the fabric store or the arts and crafts store, they sell yarn by the skein. It comes in it's kind of like a football shape, and I remember when I was little, I would hold that in between my two hands because it's basically a giant circle that's wrapped in the center, but I'd hold it and my grandmother would turn it into a ball because she found that it was easier to crochet and knit when it was in a ball than it was straight from the skein. So I hope you liked the story. I hope you enjoyed listening to Daddy read. I'm sorry I've been gone. I will be doing more stories soon. I will talk to you later. You're such good boys and girls for Daddy. Bye-bye now.